Baby Caroline arrived in 1957 and was baptized as both parents looked on with profound appreciation. Earlier, Jackie had suffered a miscarriage and a stillbirth, so the christening of this healthy child had special meaning for the entire family. Caroline was a happy baby and brought the light of motherhood into Jackie's life. In nurturing her, Jackie discovered a hidden vocation. She had a genuine gift for child rearing. It relieved some of the burden in being the wife of an ambitious senator often away from home. Running for re-election, Jack Kennedy didn't hesitate to use his family to promote an attractive image for himself. But even in this TV campaign spot staged for the voters back home, it's obvious both Mom and Dad doted on their little girl.
Pleasure to have you here, and I want you to meet my daughter Caroline and my wife Jackie.
How do you do? I'm glad you had a chance to see something of the Senate, and now to see our house where we've lived a year, and since Caroline was born. And I look forward to meeting all of you this fall as soon as the Senate is out, and we'll be back in Massachusetts.
Thank you very much for coming to see us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in very shortly. Say goodbye to Caroline.
The Kennedy clan's togetherness was its trademark, and it was Jackie's duty to fit in, especially when the matriarch of the family was host. Rose Kennedy was a deeply religious woman with an imperious style, who would grow to appreciate Jackie for her own remarkable qualities.
Sister Eunice, now Mrs. Sergeant Shriver.
Jack's sisters were happy just to play supporting roles. Some in-laws made fun of his young wife as merely a society girl, but Jackie had too much self-confidence to let that bother her, and she was prepared to field the right questions.
Right now, Mrs. Joseph P. Kennedy.
Won't you tell us, Jacqueline, a little about your experiences?
I've enjoyed campaigning so much, Mrs. Kennedy. Since September 15th, Jack and I have been traveling through the state trying to meet as many people as we can. Your youngest son, Teddy, who, as you know, is campaign manager, set up the schedule for us last summer, and now he joins us whenever he can get away from law school on weekends. We visited 184 communities, and I think slept in nearly every city in Massachusetts, and we must have shaken hands with nearly everyone in Massachusetts, too.
At home, Jackie's life centered on Caroline and thoughts of her father who had recently died of cancer. Devoting herself to her baby girl was a source of consolation and joy in a difficult year. The sadness of the past soon dissolved as Jackie was swept into the future by a momentous political gamble.
I am today announcing my candidacy for the presidency of the United States. The presidency is the most powerful office in the free world. Through its leadership can come a more vital life for all of our people. In it are centered the hopes of the globe around us for freedom and a more secure life.
Jackie had no love for politics, and crowds made her nervous, but you wouldn't guess that watching her in action during the 1960 presidential campaign. Even in the pouring rain, Jackie had star quality, a factor not seen in American politics before. She made undecided voters sit up and take notice when she was at her husband's side. Fundraisers can be dull affairs, even with a charismatic after-dinner speaker. But when the candidate's wife was Jackie, an ordinary party function somehow became a night to remember.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
On Election Day, the Kennedys arrived at the polling booth knowing only that a tight race was expected, maybe the closest in history. It was speculated Jackie's presence in the campaign might make the difference. By 3 a.m., there were hopeful signs for the Democratic ticket, but campaign manager Bobby remained thoughtful. Not until 9 in the morning could the Kennedys claim victory. It was Jackie who first invoked the legend of King Arthur to describe the Kennedy years in Washington. Unofficially, that reign of Camelot began here in a crowded armory with a statement that was part politics and part birth announcement.
The next 4 years are going to be difficult and challenging years for us all. So now my wife and I prepare for a new administration and for a new baby. Thank you.
Only 3 weeks later, the president-elect was drafted into service as a babysitter for Caroline. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Jr. was born on November 25th, 1960. Coming home from the hospital, Jackie now had to turn her thoughts to questions like how to prepare a young family for life in the White House and what to wear at the inauguration. January 20th, 1961. With all the pomp and pageantry the Kennedys could muster, the swearing-in ceremonies got underway. Men strutted in tails while Jackie stood out from all in her signature pillbox hat and chic attire. Outgoing President Dwight D. Eisenhower, the much-respected Ike, was the standard-bearer for America at mid-century, while JFK stood for the future. Onlookers waited to hear what might define the new administration's break with the past, and they got it.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
And so the transition in executive power was completed. A parade took the youngest American president ever elected at age 42 through the streets of Washington with his beautiful 31-year-old wife at his side. The weather was freezing cold, but it seemed fitting for the Kennedys to be cruising through town in a convertible, symbolic of America's open, friendly, and trusting nature. Together on this historic day, Jack and Jackie looked more like glamorous film stars than heads of state. But for the immense crowds that had turned out, the couple struck a memorable profile in courage and youth and hope. When the Kennedys moved into the White House, the social calendar of the nation was rewritten. Jackie transformed the presidential home into democracy's palace, a glittering hall of culture and entertainment for the country to enjoy. Setting the standard for elegance was Jackie herself. Privately, she thought First Lady sounded like the name for a saddle horse. But on the White House receiving line, she was definitely first in finesse. Jackie single-handedly rescued the White House from decades of benign neglect. Antiques, furnishings, and art were installed following her own careful research. They restored the warmth and historical authenticity to the public rooms of the mansion. Jackie's soirees at the White House were the talk of the town and of the world. Spain's Pablo Casals was only one of the many cultural legends who answered her call to perform. For artists of the early 1960s, an invitation to play the White House was the ultimate stamp of approval, as coveted as an Oscar or a Pulitzer Prize.